All right, good morning, guys. Happy Fire Friday. It is, oh my gosh, it's March 15th. March 15th. So continuing to roll through, we are heading into what is going to be an amazing spring market. We're absolutely going to crush it this spring, and it's going to be awesome. And you guys are already rolling. We're seeing some great stuff going on out there. Super exciting. So if you're new to Fire Friday or you're watching this on the recording, we are talking about agent attraction at eXp Realty. FIRE stands for Fund Your Reason, and that's what we're all about. We're about helping people utilize the platform of eXp Realty to build a great life. So every week we have on an amazing guest, but we couldn't find any of them. So no, I'm just kidding. so
I would expect nothing less than that. If that's not the way you went with it, I've been like, why did I even show up?
Who is this guy? Who is this guy? So we are so blessed today to have one of my very, very good friends and someone I've had the privilege to work alongside and to get to know and now for a couple of, gosh, it's been a couple of years now, right?
Yeah.
So
Seems like
Russ,
yesterday.
right? I know, right? Russ is the senior director of growth for eXp Realty. But Russ he has grown, if you guys are familiar with Fathom out there, that was a company that also had some pretty accelerated growth. They did back when Russ was running it. So Russ is a VP for Fathom, but he was in charge of growth for the entire country for growing that company. He also was a top salesperson. He grew a phenomenal team, and they sold a ton of real estate, and he expanded his team. He has done all of these things growing. You've probably seen him out there teaching. You've probably seen him out there leading our big agent meeting every Friday for all of eXp worldwide. So he does all kinds of stuff, and the people that we really wanted to see, Whiteboard and Vest. So we're so all three of you could join us. Russ, my man, seriously, you're awesome. It's been so fun again getting to know you better and watching what you've been doing. But every time I send somebody your way, they send me back a ton of thanks afterward. So you just have an awesome way of explaining things and helping people. Love your heart, and you're super talented. So we're thrilled that you're here. Let's roll, baby.
All right, Dave. Thank you very much. And I don't know, Dave didn't admit to the fact that the fault of being here is Dave's, because Dave's the one that actually hired me to eXp. So I appreciate that a ton. And as soon as I got going and got rolling, I'm like, I got to earn this spot just like I have to earn every other spot every time you start something new. And so I just put my head down and got after it. So
I accept full responsibility.
I blame him. So yeah. So one of the things that's super important is that I run most of my life based off of this philosophy. I've never seen a plan so complicated it's got to work. Not once. Okay. So simple is better. And if there's a way to make something more simple, I want to be on that right now. So I don't like doing anything the hard way. It's like I do a lot of woodworking for fun. And in the process of woodworking, like there are almost no processes that I have left that are challenging, difficult, tedious, that kind of thing. I pretty much eliminate all of those out of the way that I do stuff and build stuff, because I just don't like to bang my head on the wall and doing stupid stuff, right? So this attraction thing, I've seen it done really, really well, and I've seen it done really, really horribly. And I think what we find is that most people don't have a really simple recipe for attraction, and they don't really realize that there's a lot of opportunities in the base just way they run their world and live their life. So what I'd like to do today real quick is to go through, let me hit you guys some really simple stuff right off the bat to make sure you've got the simple stuff nailed down. If you got that, just high five yourself, okay? If you don't have that, then make a couple of adjustments. So the overall arching thought process in attraction is the more value you can add, the more likely you are to get people to come to you. Did you catch that? The more value you add, the more likely it is to get people to come to you. Secondarily, if someone doesn't know you, there's no way you're going to attract them, right? It's like, boy, I've got this one girl, this one girl that I really like a lot, and if I ever had the opportunity, that would be my person I'd go chase after, right? The problem is she has no idea who I am. So, like Jennifer Garner has no idea who I am. Okay, so let's be clear. It's not any different when you're talking about attraction. So number one, we've got to make sure we're getting in front of people. Number two, we got to make sure we're getting in front of people with the right stuff too. So if I ever got that shot in front of Jennifer Garner and I told her how great I was right out of the gate, she's probably going to walk away, right? I mean, guys, the thing that we lose in this attraction thing is like, how do you treat humans? How do you communicate with humans? So, like, I wouldn't do that to somebody I was attracted to. So, why would I do that to somebody I'm trying to attract to me? Okay. So, think about how do I build relationships? And relationships are built by having genuine interest and by adding value. I mean, I've been married 30 years this year, guys. And I know it seems like a lifetime or six. And it's one of those things that, like, when you look at your relationship, people will ask you, like, Russ, how have you been married 30 years, all to the same woman? By the way, clarify that. How have you been married for 30 years? And I said, well, in this relationship, I always try to treat her better than she treats me. And then I fail because she always wins. She always finds a way to one up me on that thing, right? But I want to make sure I'm investing in her. If I get into interactions with her just trying to take, or get, then it's going to make the relationship substantially worse. But when I go into interactions with her, I go to Friday evening with her and give, then I get back a ton, right? And it's the same way with human beings. So why are we out there doing crazy stuff and recruiting? Like, I cold call people and then try to tell them how great our Lord and Savior EXP is. That doesn't usually go over super great, right? So I'm not saying that some of those things don't work, but what I am saying is that I want to make sure I'm setting up a system, number one, a system that actually brings people to me. And then number two, I want to make sure that I'm adding value consistently. The more value I add, the more likely I am for people when something happens, they come to me, okay? So people will say, well, Russ, how do I get this? How do I get this eagle? I'm trying to get this eagle. And I say, well, you're going to have to entice the eagle, right? So here's the deal. An eagle's sitting up in his eagle nest. And how does the eagle behave? He's like, I'm hungry. So he jumps up out of his nest. He flies down to the lake. He grabs a fish out of the lake, goes back up to his nest, puts the thing on one of those little corn cob things, you know, he's like, eats the fish, right? Spits the bones out at all over the birds around the neighborhood because he can, right? And then he's like, I'm bored. So what does he do? He jumps up and goes beat the crap out of a couple other birds. And he's like, man, now I'm tired. He goes back to his nest, takes a nap. Now I'm hungry. Gets back up. At no point in any of this process does the eagle need you, right? Self-sustaining, right? So here's the thing. A lot of people will say, well, Russ, what I'm going to do is I'm going to climb up the tree and knock the eagle out of the tree. Yeah, that tends to really make eagles happy. Sure. Okay. So, okay, well, maybe I'll just cut the tree down. Like, no, probably not a good idea. So here's the thing. If you're the reason that the eagle's nest gets destroyed, they're not going to think you're the greatest thing in the world, right? So you've got to be the person that's there so that when a hurricane comes through or a fire comes through or the tree dies, right? That eagle's like, I got to transfer somewhere else. They start to think about you. And the way to do that is to be top of mind by adding value consistently. Okay, so let's go to the part that nobody talks about. You talk about recruiting, and they talk about attraction, and then a lot of times they skip over the how do I get people part. So let's talk about the how do I get people part first, and then once we get people, I want to show you a couple of really interesting techniques and things to understand that'll help you close a lot more people when you have conversations. Sound fair? Okay, so number one, anybody in here still sell houses? Yeah, good. Okay, nothing wrong with selling houses. Selling houses is an amazing sport. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. It's not dirty. Okay, you don't have to stop doing this horrible thing called selling houses to do attraction. Selling houses is a great job. It is an amazing job. It has changed probably more lives of people that I know than any other business. When somebody can go from $20 and $30 and $40,000 a year to $100 and $200 and $300 and $400,000 a year, you don't even need a college education to do that, guys. So it is one of the most amazing businesses in the world. So don't let anybody make you feel like selling houses is a bad thing. Selling houses is an amazing thing. And by the way, what I'm looking at, like, if you sell a house, you got a $10,000 check. If you attract a person, you got a $350 check. So listen, if you need money, go after house sales first. $10,000 checks. Get yourself stable, right? And in the process of getting stable, doing house sales, I want you to start thinking, hey, I might as well tag a couple of these 350s while I'm at it. And the next thing you know, your little 350s add up. And then next thing you know, your 350s are more than your 10,000s. And that's when you can shift to full-time attraction if you want. But I don't want you to go broke or bankrupt trying to do attraction. Focus on selling houses, and let me show you why, guys. Here's a recipe for you. Okay, this is my favorite recipe, and this recipe should appeal to a couple of you guys. Okay, so this is my house recipe for selling houses. This is a referral business. The more people you know, the more houses you can sell. The more houses you can sell, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more people you have that will refer business to you. Barring you did a good job on the house sale stuff. So if you did a good job on the house sale stuff, you're going to make the cash and you're going to get referral partners for life. Okay, so I'm building this business, and what it starts off with is the more people I have in my system. Okay, the more people I have in my system that I'm adding value to consistently, the more house sales I'm going to get. Okay, so guys, we talk about doing lead generation and so forth. You talk about online lead generation, Google, pay-per-click, and all of those things. Those things typically will convert at 0.25% in the first 30, 60, 90 days. NAR did a study recently, probably 6 to 8 months ago, and basically what they found when they interviewed agents about their different lead generation sources, NAR found that there was a range between a 0.8 and a 1.2 conversion rate over 12 months. NAR study was done maybe October, September last year. I saw this. Okay, so this is current. So what that means is I have to go through 400 people in the first 30, 60, 90 days just to get to one closing. And I'm not saying that doesn't work, and I'm not saying don't do that. But what I will tell you is, in the end, when push comes to shove, that over 12 months is going to average around 1%. When you're talking about building sphere of influence business, Dave Conord, what should a typical sphere of influence business convert at? Do you know a number on that?
SOI business is converting about 60%.
SOI business will typically convert about 10% based off your sphere. Probably rephrase a question weird for you. But if I've got 200 people in my sphere of influence, I should be able to generate 20 sales out of that sphere.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Misunderstood the question.
Yeah, no worries. I phrased it wrong. By the way you answered, I know I phrased it wrong for the way you were going to.
I think it's jet lag.
It's entirely possible. Good. At least you went somewhere fun, hopefully.
Yes.
Okay. So with that being said, right now, typically spheres of influence can convert around 10%. But what that's done is that's actually dropped over the last 3, 4, 5 years, because the average American, instead of moving every 6 years, is now moving every 10. It was 9.3 early last year, and it probably closed out the year at about 10. Right. So what that means is people are staying put for longer periods of time, which means there's less people churning in this sales process over time. A normal sales year, you've got 5.5 million closings, or 5.5 million house sales in a year. And we've got somewhere around 4, just north of 4 last year. Somebody just quoted 3.9 something. It's right around 4 million closings, which means there's about 1.5 million less house sales in the last year, which means everybody's got less sales. Okay. So sphere of influence is converting at a lower number, but even at a lower number of 8%, that's still 8 times what online lead generation is. So if you're a business person, and I said to you, you can have X amount of hours, and you can have 8 as a production number or 1 as a production number for those 40 hours. Which one would you take? It's like every smart business guy's be like, I'll take 8 over 1 all day, right? So guys, here's the thing. I want you to understand how unbelievably important having a sphere of influence business is when it talks about actual conversion and doing this business. If you want to work 8 times less for the same type of results, work your sphere of influence. So you hear people say, got to work your sphere, got to work your sphere, got to work your sphere. Well, there's actual real metrics behind that. Okay. So now do you believe you should really be working that? Okay. So here's the thing. It works the same way with real estate agents. So here's the fun part. In the process of selling houses, we've got this little cast off on the side here. And every time I list a house, I have another real estate agent on the other side of the transaction. Every time I work as a buyer's agent, I have another real estate agent on the side of the transaction, 95% of the time. Once in a while, I double-sided deal, but most of the time, there's a real estate agent on the other side of the transaction. And this is somebody that you're going to get to work with for 30 or 60 days. This is your opportunity to start building credibility. So what I want to start thinking, guys, is you need to be building 2 spheres of influence. Sphere of influence 1 is going to be spheres of influence for house sales. Okay. If you're not actively working a sphere of influence, build a list and add value to that list on a monthly basis. For house sales, you're doing it the hard way. Nobody's ever like, hey, Dave, you know what? I really want to do this the hard way. Can you show me how to do it that way? Yeah. Okay. Just go out there and wing it. Don't have a list. Don't keep track of anybody that you know. And definitely don't keep track of the people you like and trust. Okay. That's a great way to have a really miserable life and make this business really hard. So I want you to start thinking every single person I meet, I've got to make sure I'm getting their contact info. Would you guys like a recipe on how to get contact info from people and they voluntarily give it to you? And it works really, 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 really well. Okay, I'll give that to you in a minute. Okay, so sphere of influence 1 is house sales, right? And then sphere of influence 2, and I want you guys to start looking at it like this, and a lot of people don't, which is why I tell them to, sphere of influence of real estate agents, okay? So as I'm building my sphere of influence of house sale people, I'm going to build my real estate sphere of influence for people that are going to convert into recruits at one point or another, okay? So now here's the fun part. How many of you guys have a listing? Okay, so you're gonna have how many of you will have one listing this year? If you have one listing this year, here's the thing. I want to show you how to get a couple of extra real estate agents out of that. Okay, so let's go through in just one listing and let's list all of the real estate agents that we connect with through one listing. Okay, so if you want to jump in, Dave, I'll let you jump in so it doesn't turn into a bunch of noise here. Let's build a quick list. Okay, so I'll give you the easy one, the co-op agent. Okay, the agent on the other side of the deal. Boom. Okay. Got that. That's one guy. Okay. What else do we have?
We're building an SOI list for selling houses. Or I'm sorry,
building an SOI list of real estate agents. When I have a listing, I've got one agent on the other side of the deal. There's one.
Yeah. Got agents from former brokerages.
Okay. So any other agents that showed the property?
Right.
How many people showed the property? What, like something like 20 of them? You probably have 20 other agents showed your property, right?
Yep.
Okay. There's a script for helping convert them too. Who else touched this deal? What other agents touched the deal?
People that showed up at the open house.
Okay, open house, good, right? So number 4, you can do brokers open, right? Because you'll get some from there. Right. Okay, good. Anybody else?
Offers that did not get accepted.
Sure, those would be in that list of people that showed. A good one though. I like the way you're thinking. Okay, so let's go really far outside the box here, guys. The title person, mortgage person, inspector, insurance person. Okay, these 4 right here are super connectors. So let's do the math. Okay, I do an open house, and how many agents are going to go through the open house? You'll probably pop in, 2 during a normal open house where they bring somebody through there, right? Brokers open. Let's just say there's 5 people showed up at that. So just on the agents in the actual part of the business, you got 20, 21, 22, 23, 28 agents just in the process of doing a normal listing and the process of getting through that process selling. There's 28 agents in that deal, right? A lot of people are like, well, the other agent, like, yeah, but you got these other agents that showed the house, right? So here's the thing, guys. You want a script for the other agents that showed the house? So you're like, how do I convert them onto my list? So here's a script. Say, hey, this is Russ Laggan. Just want to touch base with you. You guys showed the property at blah, blah, blah lane, and we went under contract for that property. I'm going to keep your info just in case the thing comes apart, and you'll be on the list of first people to take a look at it if this deal falls through for some reason. And by the way, I do list a number of homes like this in the market. So if I list another house just like this, what I'll do is I'll reach out to you and let you have a take a look at it before anybody else sees it. How does that sound? Man, I just built a friend. They're like, really? Yeah, because we know they got a buyer that's looking in that market. We know they got a buyer that's looking at that house style. So we might as well leverage that, right? Now they're thinking, well, this Russ guy's a pretty good guy, right? And hey, by the way, I do a real estate market update every month that tells people what's going on in the market. Would you like me to send that to you also? And by the way, if you see something different in the market, don't hesitate to let me know because I don't see everything. So if you see something in my market update that you see different, let me know, okay? Or if you do one, make sure you send me yours. And of course, they never send me their market update because none of them are doing it, okay? So just by doing that and having a real estate market update, I'm able to actually get those 20 people in my sphere. And now I'm able to deliver value to them every single month with something they need to know, which is what's going on in the market. And guys, by the way, I'm all over the country. And when I sit in rooms all over the country with all different brands in the room, and I'm like, hey, tell me what's going on in the market. Where are we at in the market? The agents don't know what the actual market stats are. I was in a town the other day and I sat down. I'm like, so listings are down. Yeah. Sales prices are starting to go down. Yeah. Interest rates are going up. Yeah. Demand is down. Yeah. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Let me show you your market. It was the exact opposite of what they thought and felt, because people are going based on what they're hearing and feeling and not going based on what's actually going on in metrics in their market. So you got to know your market. By the way, Dave, I've got a video on how to do a good market update. Would you like me to send that to you guys?
Yeah, man. Come on.
Okay. Throw that in there. Okay.
You are
So
the master of the market update, my brother.
like, you got to know your numbers, right? Okay. So here's the fun one, Dave. The title person knows 200 agents. The mortgage person knows 200 agents. The inspector knows 200 agents. The insurance person knows 200 agents. So now I've got a touch of 828 people total reach by touching the 28 plus those 4. So with 32 people, I've got a reach of 828. That's almost 1,000 people from one listing. And I get people all the time, Dave, and they're like, well, Russ, well, like, where do I find agents? I'm like, right there.
Right.
God forbid you do 10 listings in a year.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
My
from
head
one.
just exploded.
That's from one.
Yeah, that's from one. Okay. So like people start to go, well, Russ, it's so hard. It's so hard. I'm like, it's so hard because you're doing it the hard way. Like, let's do it the easy way, right? I can drive nail. I used to swing a sledgehammer on the railroad, by the way, like singing song. I drove spikes on the railroad when I was a late teenager. My dad helped get me the job. He's the GM of the railroad. And then I realized he hated me. And man, I worked harder than ever. And I'd be over there with a hammer, bang, bang, just driving these things in, right? And then you get to the point where you're like, how many hits can it take? You know the old lollipop thing. How many licks does it take to get to the middle of Tootsie Pop, right? It was how many hits can I hit to get to the, before Frank would say, dude, you're good. And Frank was a guy who always keeping, like, he was keeping count and he was making sure it was solid, right? And then Frank comes over and he goes, hey, we're gonna try a new tool with you. It's an air jackhammer, and all you do is just stand on it, like, right? Like, why have we been doing it the hard way? He's like, well, that thing's heavy and I don't like to load it up. Like, dude, I just spent 8 hours swinging a sledgehammer. I would have spent 20 minutes to load that thing up myself. Okay, so don't do stuff the hard way. Ignore Frank, okay? 828. So every single one of these people get my real estate market update every single month, okay? And here's the thing. Have you guys ever gone anywhere to like a real estate agent event? And when you go to the real estate agent event, and Dave, this is the way I phrase this, and I phrased it like this the whole time, and I know it's slightly inappropriate, but it's super accurate, okay? And I'm going to say it this way, just don't tell my boss, okay?
Do it. Okay.
You go to the realtor event, and every one of these people are trying to hump your damn leg, right? It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like, oh, realtors. And they're like trying to grab you and tackle you. And so it's the weirdest interaction, right? So now I'm going to go to any of these events intentionally, right? Not to meet real estate agents. I want to meet these guys, right? So when that title person comes over and they're like, oh, hey, you're a real estate agent? We're the most amazing title company in the world and you should give us a try. That's why they don't get real estate agents, because they got crappy sales processes and crappy sales pitches. Okay. So I want that title person to come up to me. So I will say, hey, title person, I do a market update every month that tells people what's going on in the market. What I'll do is I'll send that to you. And I do mine unbranded. I just do Russ the Real Estate Dude unbranded. So what you can do is you can send that to all of the realtors you know. And now you become the resource for market stats in the market. And now you become that resource for them. And they're more likely to come to you when it's time for title. How does that sound? And the title person's like, are you kidding me? That's awesome, right? So exactly. So I've got these people consistently that I can add to my sphere, and now I'm adding value to them. And by the way, guys, these are the guys that know when a real estate agent's frustrated, pissed off, or the company's closing or shutting down or doing weird stuff, right? Did you know everybody at that company, J. Jojo's, is all pissed off because they just changed the comp plan and they're all really mad right now? Send them my way, okay? So that's one of the ways that you can do massive numbers of connections consistently. So think about how to use that as a multiplier. 2 listings in a year, you're looking at 1,600 people touch. Now you're going to have these guys have crossovers and so forth. I don't care. I don't care. On one listing, you have 428 touch. Good. Does that make a little bit of a difference? Okay. Now I need to add value to them every single month. Add value to them every single month. Okay. So one of the other fun ways that I get people into my sphere of influence for real estate agents is a thing that I use to build my real estate business. Do you guys what do we sell here? What are we selling? Houses? Yeah. And these houses have issues. right? As a matter of fact, there are plumbers directly below me right now fixing another issue with the house. 1953. Love the house. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Lovely neighborhood, lovely neighbors, and constantly has a little nickel and dime stupid stuff going on. So this is the second time the plumbers have been here in 3 days. They just found something else that probably make them return again at some point in the near future. Okay. So with that being said, if we're having these issues with houses all the times, I don't know. Dave, you and Kristen have a nicer, newer house, but you still have things going on, right?
All the time.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Okay. So if the average American's moving every 10 years, right? And the average American lives in a house, has 4 things break every year. If I manage a professional preferred contractor list, I will have the ability to have 40 times more contact with my people over the next 10 years. If they're moving every 10 years, they need me once every 10 years. Or they can refer me, of course, but they need me once every 10 years. If they have 4 things break on their house and they realize Russ, the real estate dude, knows everybody. And by the way, these plumbers are doing a good job. They're going in my preferred contractor list because they've done a good job. They showed up on time. They communicated well. They're a fair price and they kept their pants pulled up. Okay. So that's my plumber's requirements. Okay. So with that being said, I've got the ability to have 40 times more contact because now I've got Cindy over there and Cindy's like, something broke on my house. I'm like, I'll just reach out to Russ, right? Or I'll hit him up on Facebook, ask Russ, hey, who's your plumber? Okay, so now I become a resource for people. So now I start utilizing that as something to build my sphere of influence, right? Because realtors actually are in the world doing the same thing. So what happens is if I go online right now and say, hey, I'm looking for a good plumber that shows up on time, does a good job, is a fair price, communicates well, and keeps his pants pulled up. If I put that post in Facebook, I will have a bunch of people in my sphere that'll give me references of people that are good. Okay, so now let's think about building a business plan like that. So if I just go on social once a week and say, hey, I'm looking for this specific trade person in this specific area, right? Please tell people what the area is. I see people all the time, hey, I'm looking for a plumber. And I'm like, I've got people from all over the country. I don't even know what state you're in, much less what part of the state you're in. Okay, so I'm looking for a plumber for Southeastern or for West or for Livonia, Plymouth, Canton, Northville, Novi area. I'm looking for a plumber for that. Shows up on time, does a good job, communicates well, is a fair price, and keeps his pants pulled. Who do you got? And what happens in social is then the people will give me, people will start giving me their people, right? And by the way, guys, the realtors in my life that are in my sphere of influence because I've been doing house sales, those realtors, they give me their people too. So I'll get Tony Baroni, who's down the street. Great name for a realtor, right? Tony Baroni. True actual real dude. You can Google him. He's in Tampa and he's a baller, by the way. Keller Williams guy, probably one of the top teams in the nation. So Tony will take time. He's like, hey, Russ, I got this guy named Chris. He's fantastic. And I'm like, hey, Tony, that's great. Thank you very much for that. And then I hit Tony with a private message. Hey, man, thanks for that plumber. By the way, if you ever need anybody, let me know because I'm building out a professional list. So if you ever get stuck and need something, let me know. Or if you've got anybody else that you really love, let me know them too. He'll help me build my list. I've got a realtor not in my brand helping me build my list. And I've offered to help him build his list. So now when he gets stuck on something, he's like, hey, Russ, I know you know a lot of people. Who do you got with this? I'm like, yeah, I do got a guy, right? Boom. Okay, so I put together a list of 93 different types of contractors. Would you guys like to see that list? Yeah. And then there's a little recipe down below is like shows you how to actually do what I just told you. Okay. Because you're gonna be like, oh, stop, slow down. How did you do that? Okay. So here's the other fun part. Tony Baroni's a real estate agent. And I go, hey, Tony, by the way, I do a market update every month that tells you what's going on in the market. I'll throw you on my list so you can see that too. If you ever see anything different, let me know. And Tony's like, dude, thanks. So I can add realtor after realtor after realtor after realtor after realtor, right? So 1, market update is my number 1 most important valuable tool. 2, contractor list. Okay, 2, contractor list. Manage a contractor list. It gives you engagement in both directions, helps you sell more houses, you become a resource. And then, by the way, 3 is social media. So doing social media different and better dovetails with this and with this. Now, when I get the plumber down there, if I get done and they get done at the same time, I can go outside and I'll be like, hey, I'm Russ Laggan, a real estate dude. And we just had Chris King, the plumber, come out and he did a really great job. He showed up on time. He communicated well, didn't scare my wife, kept his pants pulled up, and he was a fair price. Chris King's the best plumber in town. And he's like, did you just say kept my pants pulled up? Yes, I did. And he laughs. And it's funny, right? Don't do boring social media, guys. Have something funny and use the heck out of it, okay? So now I'm doing social media promoting other people's business. Can you see a market where people are out in the market right now and they're just like, look at me, I'm a realtor. Look at me, I'm a realtor. And the people that are out there doing that are just alienating everybody around them, right? So it's Russ the real estate dude adding value, Russ the real estate dude adding value, Russ the real estate dude promoting other people's businesses. And the second part of that social thing is I want to go out and do interesting things, right? By the way, Dave, when I'm out and about, when I go to EXPCon, people don't say, hey, Russ, I love your real estate stuff on social. They say, hey, Russ, I saw you built that thing with wood. Everybody comments about the woodworking stuff that I do. They don't
Yes.
comment about my real estate posts. They comment about the woodworking stuff I do. So I want to be Russ the real estate dude doing interesting things. So if you're a foodie, and by the way, I've been known to shoot some pictures of food on occasion. They're like, man, you eat the best food. I'm like, no, not really, but I do eat some interesting food. So I will shoot pictures and I'll do a quick promotion. It's like I did one at Peppermill in Phoenix. Okay. So I'm at the Peppermill, cool place. Hey, I'm Russ the real estate dude. You got to check this little restaurant out. Mom and pop shop, started in 2020. Super cool. Still in business. I don't know how they made it through COVID. Fantastic food, good price, great wine, and you can watch the people cooking the food right in front of you. It's phenomenal to watch. It's like a ballet of meat watching them run the grill. It's amazing. So if you're ever in Phoenix, check out Peppermill. There's a promotion for a video. I'm Russ the real estate dude doing cool stuff, eating cool food, going cool places. I'm Russ the real estate dude going to the dog park. I'm Russ the real estate dude riding a mountain bike, checking out the trails, walking, hiking, biking, whatever. Start doing social media better. Stop doing look at me social media. Now, that's also going to attract real estate agents. Kind of wild, huh? Okay, so I can utilize this, and this to actually start building credibility and being seen and be in the flow with all of my real estate agents in my system. So Dave, in let's see, 2014, 15, I was real intentional about just building my sphere of influence list for real estate agents. I added 543 people to my sphere of influence, 547 people to my realtor sphere list just by doing that stuff. Okay, so you can do that really fast. And by the way, guys, I didn't even think about doing the leveraging thing as much back then. That came at a later date. And I was like, oh my gosh, we can leverage all these other things. Okay, so I can have one listing and have 828 potential touches. So now we're filling out this sphere. So you got to be intentional with it. So I want you to start thinking from a business plan standpoint, how do I add 5 real estate agents to my real estate agent sphere every week? Doing things you already should be doing anyway, right? Can I utilize this contractor list thing? Sure. Can I utilize having the market update? Absolutely. Can I go to a realtor event and then say, hey, by the way, I have a market update I do every month that tells people what's going on in the market. You want me to send it to you? And all the realtors always said yes. Hey, by the way, if you do one, send me yours. They never did. Okay. So that's some flow on how to get people in. Weird, huh? Simple?
Awesome. It's awesome.
Okay.
And Russ, here's the thing. With all of those things, they're all coming from a value add standpoint, right? You are adding value, you're bringing value. This is something where when you're putting stuff out there on the mortgage update and other realtors aren't good at doing that.
Yes.
Guarantee you've had some agents come to you and say, hey, can you show me where are you getting this? How are you doing this? I want to start doing this, right? You have the contractor list. They probably come to you and say, hey, Russ, you have all these different contractors. I need someone who does hardwood floors. Do you have someone you use? You seem to be tied in with all the contractors, right? All of those things of what you do, they are now coming to you, your phone ringing, and they're seeking you out. And this is it's building that relationship coming from value, but they're getting used to coming to you for value. You're a trusted resource.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Exactly. Excellent. So here's a weird one. You're going to get this too, guys. So I'll get you ahead of this because you'll fall for it for about 15 or 20 times and you'll realize, why am I giving this away? There are people be like, Russ, so when somebody asks me for a contract, then I can send them the whole list, right? Like, no. I'm the gatekeeper of the list, right? And somebody will say, well, can't you just give me your whole list? No, I can't give you my whole list. Here's the reason why. The list changes constantly because you know how contractors are. And when I get feedback that contractor's not doing their thing, I'm rotating that. So what I don't want you to do is have my list from 6 months ago. That isn't the same. This thing is constantly changing, constantly turning. When somebody does a good job, they go to the top of the list. When somebody's not doing a good job, they filter off the list. Okay. So this is a living document. It's constantly moving. Just reach out to me. No big deal. Happy to chat with you. And they're like, oh, okay. You're like, well, I'll just send them to Angie's list. Great. How does that do for conversion? Yeah. So who's the resource, Angie or you? Like, I want to be the resource and people think, boom, Russ is my guy for everything. Okay. So Let me show you something else that's really interesting, and I can go into like 2 hours. And then, by the way, Dave, if you ever want me to come back and talk about, like, I can show you the recipe on how to have a conversation with a real estate agent that when you get done, they're like, man, this guy really gets me.
Yeah,
Kind of
man.
weird, right? Oh, by the way, it occurred to me in the middle of the night last night, you can use the same recipe for dating. You like first date, here's the recipe on how to go through the first date, and the other person to be like, that guy's amazing.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
human connection.
So
Human
I'm like,
connection, right?
I'm gonna start a new dating service coming up. It's gonna
Nice.
realtorsmatch.com or something. Okay. So here's the thing that's super important before we go into those. So that can be a secondary. So Dave, the actual recipe itself and conversation itself and how to work through that, I can work through that. That's a really great conversation, but it's long. Okay, so one of the things I want you guys to understand also is it's super important that you understand that everybody is somewhere on this curve. Okay, here's the curve. Well, I'll call it the curve of life, right? The curve of career, curve of business. So here's the fun part. Everybody in the real estate business starts at 0-0. Okay, 0-0 point. When you're at 0-0, you have zero experience. You got $0 doing real estate. That's where we all start. Okay. And here's the fun part. The first phase of a real estate agent is almost always about making money, right? They didn't get the job because they just wanted to go out and have fun, right? They got the job because they want to make money and do something they enjoy, right? But the first phase is really money driven. So a real estate agent will typically come to me and I'll say, hey, how much money do you want to make? Part of that script conversation I was talking about that I'll preview for you. It's like, how much money do you want to make a year? And they almost always say 100K. The one thing that's always funny to me is, like, I know two things. If they say 100K, two things are that we want to, like, number one, that's a big number to them. Number two, they've never made more than 100K because they would never aim for 100 if they made 2 and 3. Okay. Nobody ever left 300 say, I just want to make 100. Okay. So that tells me mindset wise where they're at in their business world in some regard. So here's the thing. A lot of real estate agents get stuck somewhere on this curve. Like the average real estate agent actually makes 54K a year. I think that was the most recent stat that I saw, 54K a year. So that means they're just north of halfway to what their typical stated goal is, right? And I don't know a single real estate agent ever got in a business. You're like, you're at 0 sales or 1 or 2. Like, I don't know any of them ever said, you know what, Russ, I'm totally cool making like 10 grand. None of them. Okay. So with that being said, if they're not making the number that they wanted to, that they committed to, that they talked through with their spouse, it's like, if I get a real estate license and I can make $100,000 a year, and they built their plan around that. And then when they're not making that 100K, it's not exciting. It's disappointing. It's disenfranchising. It's frustrating. It's aggravating. It's off-putting, right? So we need to start thinking, okay, that's first phase. So it's important to understand when somebody's not where they need to be in money. That's the first phase, and it's important to understand that. So can we help them with a solution? So when I'm out in the market, say, like, listen, if you're stuck at 2 or 3 sales and you want to be at 10, I can help you out with that. See, you make it about them and the conversation about them. If you're stuck at 2 or 3 and you want to be at 10, I can show you how to get to 10. If you'd like to see that, I can show you how to do that. Right? If this business isn't what you thought it was, and you're tired of doing it the hard way, I can show you 3 recipes that make it a lot easier. If you'd like to see that, reach out to me. Do you see how I'm actually talking about what the problem is and the feel and the flavor is and the thing that goes with that versus going, let me tell you how great EXP is. Did you know EXP has this and 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 this? Listen, guys, nobody ever freaking bought a drill bit because they wanted a drill bit. They wanted a hole. And what that hole does, because that hole provides a place for a screw, which means I can hang up this beautiful picture of my family. So they want the picture on the wall. They don't want a hole and they don't want a drill bit. But in order to have the picture on the wall, they need a drill bit to make the hole to get the picture on the wall. So stop selling the drill bit. It's like, would you like a picture on the wall? I can help you with that. Okay. Do you see how that shifts the way you do things? So here's the fun part. When people get to the point where they make the money that they want to make, then they move the bar. Because they see it. Like, you said you want to make 100 grand. She's like, yeah, but now I want to make 2. And then when they make 2, they're like, well, shoot, I should aim for 3. Then they're like 3, they're like, dang, I should aim for $500,000, right? We always move the bar, which is normal. It's human. Okay. So the cool part is at some point you get to the point where the number is the right number. And then the next phase in life is now they want their time back. Now I want my time back. Like, I'm making plenty of money. I don't want to work every evening and every weekend and have to skip my kids' lacrosse games because I'm out driving around with a buyer that I've been showing houses for 6 months. They've looked at 100 houses. They're not buying anything ever. Okay. I'm not doing that anymore because I would rather have 10 grand less and have that time so I can watch my kids play than the money. So time becomes super important. So here's the deal. If money is super important part of your process, and you're phase one right now, why don't we do this? Let's talk about building a business where you get the money thing, but also we set you up where you don't have to work 50 and 60 and 70 hours a week. How would that sound? Now I've got them focused on solving their problem and solving the next problem I know they're going to have. And they go, oh, yeah, that would be cool. So if you can make that number and not work 40 hours a week, would that be a thing you want to see? And they go, yes, I would. Cool. Now I got your attention. Okay. Some of you guys are like, I want to see that too, Russ. That's a second session. Okay. So here's the fun part. Once they get the money and time thing balanced out, then ultimately they're like, how do I not have to do this anymore? It's like, I want that exit point. Some people call it retirement. Some people call it freedom. It's like, I'm not going to stop working. I just don't want to have to trade time for money. So when I get to the point where I don't have to trade time for money, that's when I have the choice, the freedom to do what I want, and the freedom to exit if I want, the freedom to stop doing this, and I have enough money to last out the rest of my time. That's the third phase. Third phase is like, how do I get to the point where I don't have to do this? And that goes as part of that curve. And then when somebody gets to that point and they still got a little bit left in them, then they think, how do I build a legacy? How do I build something that lasts? Right? So the first legacy, you might say, okay, Russ, well, 4 is legacy and 5 is legacy. So 4 is legacy. I'm building my legacy. And by the way, if we could set you up where you could build all of this at the same time and have some of this being built at the same time, by the way, that's what RevShare is. Building legacy at the same time, setting myself up. We have stocks, and the stock incentives allow you to invest in yourself, and they sell you stock at a discount. And you get stock grants for this and stock grants for that, and you get stock grants for Icon. Just being here helps you start setting this up right out of the gate. So you get the money and the time, and we're setting up the exit, and you can start setting up legacy right now. So 4 is legacy for me. 5 is legacy for everybody else. Okay. So when you get somebody's like, I already built my legacy, I already got the cash, I got the thing. But Gene Fredericks is a perfect example of this. Okay. Gene Fredericks, does he need the money? No. Is he good? Yeah. Could he retire? Sure. Did he build a legacy? Yeah. So why is he still doing something? Why is Brent Gove still doing? Why is Glenn Sanford still doing something? He's doing it because he's like, I want to help other people build their legacy. So this is legacy internal focus, this is legacy external focus. And with that, now you understand where people are at the curve. If you can identify where they are on this curve, then you can sell them what that next thing is for them. So when I get a brokerage, like, I don't need the money, Russ. Great. So you want to build a legacy where you're making a difference in other people's lives and that lasts past the time you die? You know what? That sounds kind of interesting. Yeah, I do. Gotcha. Okay. So there's always a next level for people as they're moving forward. If they're wanting to do something, there's always a next level. Once you understand that, now it changes the way I communicate. Okay. So Dave, hard stop. I got to go. I got to be
Russ has got to go take on the big agent meeting. Hey guys, throw some love for Russ. If you guys picked up a few things in here, throw some love for real quick in the chat for Russ. Show him what you got. Russ, man, I love it. I was taking notes like crazy over here. I love the way you present this. I love the way your brain works most of the time. Sometimes it's a little weird. I can't figure it out.
It's a funny place.
No, seriously though, I mean, you started off with the more value you add, the more likely people will want to follow you.
Yes.
Right. And then from there, you talked about adding value. Really, really fantastic stuff. And I love the idea of the double legacy for you, legacy for everyone else. That ties into fund your reason, which is what we drive around here. A big part of why folks are here. I know you've got to run because they're waiting for you to get into the green room and get all that stuff going.
Yes. One last thing I promised you guys. I put together 8 modules on how to do those 3 recipes. Starts off a little bit of mindset, and then it goes into how to do real estate market update, how to do the contractor list, how to do social. There's 8 modules I've had my buddy put together in a clone of a website so that you can jump in there. 0 cost to it. You got to register just to get in to the thing, and it's in a program called School. So you can go in there, 8 modules, watch through them. A couple of them are really short, so you can actually develop those 3 recipes for yourself and run through them. And then we do a mastermind on Fridays to answer questions if you guys need that. So with that being said, that is at jumpstartmasterclass.com. If you go to jumpstartmasterclass.com, Dave, you want to send that out to them, just jump in there, register. That is for people from EXP to be able to go in there and just use the stuff that I do for other stuff. And we sold, by the way. This is a really shortened down bootleg version of that. So you guys have access to those recipes in detail. So if you're like, I want to do that with my business, go for there. So a little bit of mindset stuff. It's me, bald headed, talking through this stuff. I did it for a buddy of mine because he wanted some help. And I said, just give me access to it. And there you go. So all for you guys.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And guys, if you're not following Russ on social media, go out and follow him. He does all kinds of cool stuff, and you'll see the amazing, honestly, his woodworking. He made us the coolest chessboard I've ever seen in my entire life. We absolutely love it. It's like live oak, wild edges, all different pieces together. It's really, really incredible. The guitars he makes are ridiculous. So fun, so fun. And guys, Russ is in, if you're with EXP, he's in Workplace. You can track him down there and everything else like that. So he can help you bring in brokerages. He can help you if you just want to talk strategy and that kind of stuff. Russ, what's the best way for them to get on your calendar if they want to dig in with you on
hit me up on Workplace Chat and just say, hey, we need to talk, and I'll block a time out for you.
Awesome. Russ, my friend, thank you. Did not disappoint. Brought us the fire. You're amazing. So we thank you so much for being here, man. And thank you for everything that you're continuing to do. You're such an asset to the company and to all of us. You're helping us all get better.
All right. Beautiful. Just tell my boss I'm not a dipstick. See you guys.
All right. See you, brother. Thank you. All right, y'all. Russ had a hard stop. I'm going to hit stop on record.